What is a biblical leader? A biblical leader is defined by their character. It affords them their authority, because the role of a biblical leader is to model how to live to their followers. This is a biblical leader's role because it was Jesus' role. We should be modeling biblical character, and we lose our authority when we stop modeling biblical character, when what we're saying doesn't align up with what we're doing. So if we're professing things about Jesus and about the Bible, and our actions aren't coinciding with that, then we start to lose our authority to speak into people's lives about how to be more biblical. Jesus showed us how to interact as a leader within 3 different type of relationships. And so a leader, no matter how they came to be in those relationships, the consistency in all 3 is their character. So I made a visual that looks like this. And so the leader is the whole circle, and the 3 different relationships are the 3 colors. And the first one is the leader and God. The second one is a leader with other leaders, and this is either working as a team or someone who's leading you, maybe a mentor discipling you, or just someone that's higher up than you. And then you as a leader and your followers. And this can be people that choose to follow you, or people like because of a position that you've been given or like designated your followers. So we come into these leadership roles in different ways. Sometimes we get to choose who we lead with or who we lead. And for example, if you are getting married and you are picking a marriage partner and you want to start a family, you get to choose who you lead your new family with. You also get to choose to have children, which is you're choosing your followers. Most circumstances, you don't get to choose. You don't have a say in who your team is going to be, or maybe even who's in charge of you. You don't get a say in who follows you. So for instance, I chose to be a leader by applying for the ILS, but I didn't know who would lead with me, and I didn't get to choose my staff. But we still, we all led together. We were a team. We came together, and we didn't choose each other, but we chose how to go from there. Same thing with our followers. We knew that when we signed up for the ILS that we would be able to facilitate the DTS in different ways, but we didn't know who was going to be in the DTS, and we didn't get a say in who got to be a DTS student. So things like this, it doesn't matter how we come to that role or relationship of us and other leaders or us and our followers, but the thing that's consistent and the thing that can always be there in every single relationship is our character. And the character of a biblical leader is laid out in 2 Peter 1:5-8. And in this verse, it says that the foundation of being a biblical leader, which makes sense, is our faith, not only in God, but in the Bible. And so with this, I made a visual that faith is at the bottom, it's our foundation, and our character consists of all these different pillars, and our character allows us to be effective and fruitful leaders. So to be an effective and fruitful leader, I decided that there were 4 different parts. What you do as an effective and fruitful leader is you train. You're interested in teaching them. So you're a teacher. You're also interested in discipling them and mentoring them. You're really dealing with their heart issues. You're developing their character in those times. The next step is to trust them and release them. It's not just to always be teacher and follower, but at one point you allow them to step into the role that God's calling them into be, and you're trusting the training and discipling that you've been doing, that they're ready, that they know. And then from there, you're maintaining them, you're loving them, you're allowing them to keep growing long after the initial training, that they're still developing character, they're still developing in different ways and being there in that process. So the different pillars that make up biblical character or biblical leadership character, the first one is virtue or purity. And this relates to our inner righteousness or sanctification, which is just the process of becoming holy. And God calls us to be holy like He's holy. And so we allow God to see into our heart and to change the things that need to be changed or maintain the things that need to be maintained. That He's the perfect pruner, that he's the potter of the clay. He's the one who's in charge of this process of making us holy. And so this also has to do with having a clear conscience. The second pillar of being a biblical leader with character is knowledge, or being a learner. And this relates to being a thinker or a reader or a writer. It comes along with the desire to know more, the desire of something higher than yourself, grasping on to what that is. It's not just obtaining knowledge, but it's meditating on it. It's allowing it to go from your head to your heart, making it real, making it something that you can implicationally apply to your life. The third pillar of biblical leadership and character is self-control or discipline. And this is not only choosing what is right, but it's also resisting what is wrong. This encompasses controlling our speech, behavior, and our time. This one is really obvious, and it's a huge piece of maintaining the relationships that we have. The fourth pillar is perseverance, or patience with faith. And this relates to developing a physical discipline for overcoming suffering. God promises that there will be suffering in our life because of the sin and because of the brokenness and the broken state of the world, but he gives us the capacity to overcome because of his presence in our life, and his presence brings the fruits of the Spirit, which one of them is joy. And being able to overcome suffering with joy is the type of perseverance that provides great biblical character. The fifth pillar is godliness, or intimacy with God, and this is as simple as it sounds. It's developing your relationship with God. It's spending time with him, whether in prayer, both in supplication and in listening. This can be through intercession or worship, all types of however you spend time with God. And it's not just one, but it's all of them. The sixth pillar is kindness, or encouraging others, and this relates to being thoughtful or creative in blessing others. So it's finding the things that make people, the essence of who that person is, and being able to point that out in them and to encourage them in that area. It's using the appropriate manners based on who's around you. So once again, you're specific with the people that are around you. You tap into who they are, what type of relationship do you have. If they're in charge of you or they're teaching you, giving them that respect and listening. If they're a close friend and they're telling you something intimate, it's being vulnerable with them. It's knowing the right thing to do based on the correct relationship that you're in. And the last part of kindness is just being quick and wholehearted to forgive. The seventh and the last piece of biblical character for a leader is love, or selflessness. And this is related to having compassion. Jesus had compassion for everyone that he saw, and that's hard sometimes. But it's also giving yourself and your resources generously, even to the point of sacrificing. And Jesus definitely did this for us as well. And this is probably the best point where service, like servant leadership, comes in. It's being able to see your value and other people's value and choosing to spend your time and your effort on theirs. It's choosing to put them above yourself, not because they have more value, but because you want to show your love for them, and in that way they can recognize it in your service. So this is the character that a biblical leader will have, and they'll have this character in all three of their relationships from this model. But there are certain relationships where different pieces of your character are used more. So for instance, between you and God, you're more likely to develop being a learner here. You're more likely to develop discipline, because to maintain your relationship with God takes a certain kind of effort to have quiet times to read your Bible, stuff like that. This is where you gain authority and wisdom. In your relationship with you and other leaders, this is where you're learning to submit, to show kindness and respect based on who's around you. You can also gain wisdom here. You can also be a learner, being humble enough to let other people teach you things and know that you don't know everything, but that others do. This is where you can listen and learn to serve your team. Between you and your followers, you are definitely showing your character. This is where you're ultimately modeling the biblical character. You're learning how to teach. You're learning how to put what you know into action. You're learning how to disciple and serve and listen. But most importantly, you're learning how to set them up for success by teaching them these 7 pillars of your character, not only by modeling it to them, but teaching to them the information as well. So, a biblical leader is defined by their character.